My name is Robert Peters and I'm a futurologist and a policy advisor.
ENHANCE is an alliance of 7 leading European universities with a focus on science and engineering. The ENHANCE Alliance is working under the umbrella of the European University Initiative towards an ever more integrated European university network, enabling student and staff mobility, innovative forms of learning and close engagement with society on all levels. The European Universities of Technology Alliance.
So that makes my job way easier because you all know now, and all the participants following us via live stream, what ENHANCE Conversations and what ENHANCE Alliance is. Again, welcome from my side. My name is Robert Peters. I'm policy advisor and futurologist at the Berlin-based Institute for Innovation and Technology. And as I am also an alumnus of RWTH Aachen University, for me it's a special pleasure to host you here in Aachen for the next about 2 hours of intense and hopefully also inspiring discussion. Today we want to talk about one of the most important technological topics bothering us in society for the last years. We talk about artificial intelligence and its implications for society, and especially in terms of diversity aspects. We will ask, what are the implications of AI on diversity? We will ask, what role does diversity play in the development process of digital technologies, especially in terms of artificial intelligence? And we will ask, what responsibility do technical universities bear when it comes to AI and diversity, and when it comes to the question of how can we shape a more diverse and a more inclusive future via artificial intelligence. We'll talk about all these important questions in a few minutes, but first we come to the official welcome speech, and therefore it's my pleasure to hand over to Professor Dr. Ute Habel. She's Vice President for International Affairs at RWTH Aachen University. Professor Habel, the stage is yours.
Thank you, and welcome to ENHANCE Conversations 2022, also on behalf of RWTH Aachen University. I think we can be very proud and honored to host this flagship event of our European Universities Alliance, ENHANCE. And this topic, as you have heard, diversity and inclusion via artificial intelligence, is very relevant for our universities, but also for the Alliance, and specifically also for our society altogether. And so I think it is very important to discuss this relevant topic and to go into more detail. How can we leverage the potential of artificial intelligence for a more diverse and more inclusive and also more equal European society? And we're very happy that we attracted so many people online as well as here today who are interested in participating in this discussion. And so we see we are really in a very hot topic, a current topic, a topical issue that we address here today. And so we're very thankful that all of you are here today, but I would also like to welcome the people outside online here. And I would also like to thank the organizers here, and especially Meliot Skardes and the ENHANCE team, who was actually the initiator and the organizer, but the motor, the driver of this event. And I'm really very thankful for his effort to put all this together and to make it happen. And I think it's a great asset that we have have here today. I wish you very controversial but inspiring discussions here today, and hope that this matters not only to us personally, but to the Alliance and, again, to the whole society. I think it's a very important topic. Thank you for being here and enjoy the event.
Thank you very much, Professor Habel, for this warm welcome. The impact of artificial intelligence on society, as well as the issue of diversity, are both subjects of intense political debate, as we all know. And currently, the European Union is negotiating the Artificial Intelligence Act, a proposal for the regulation of artificial intelligence. And that's the reason why I'm looking forward to the keynote of today's event, and I'm very happy that she will give this keynote, Sabine Verheyen. She will explain why it is important that we are talking about this topic today. And to introduce her, Sabine Verheyen is a German politician, and she was elected to the European Parliament in 2009, where she is a member of the CDU-CSU group as part of the group of the European People's Party. And she currently is chairwoman of the Committee of Culture and Education. And under her leadership, the committee has promoted the potential of AI in the sector of education, whilst also calling for caution and greater regulation in terms of AI and potential discrimination to help reduce the bias in technology. Unfortunately, Sabine Verheyen is not able to be with us in person today, but the good news is she was able to pre-record her keynote so that we have the opportunity to hear what she has to say.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, due to the advancement of computer technology and the digital revolution, we have seen a drastic change over the past few decades in the way we live. Our lives revolve more and more around technology, and it is becoming more pervasive every year. Artificial intelligence is one of the key drivers of the digital revolution and is becoming increasingly embedded in our daily lives. What seemed to be inventions of sci-fi movies is slowly becoming reality, from self-driving cars to robots at the workspace, in medicine, in all kinds of sectors. We in the EU have also recognized the role artificial intelligence plays for our society. We are currently working on the Artificial Intelligence Act, in which we are dividing the field into different levels of risk, as well as addressing ethical principles of artificial intelligence. It will be one of the most important files in this digital decade. Often, AI is seen as a possible solution to tackle discrimination and bias. Every decision humans make is influenced by feelings and experiences that a program does not have. Unfortunately, it is not that easy. AI systems are built on learning from data, and if that data is distorted by the programmer, it can have major consequences. Therefore, it is crucial that the engineers and researchers who develop the products used by us are a mirror of society. Otherwise, it may result in the dissemination of bias on a large scale. A 2019 study from the US, where most of the major companies in this field are based, showed that white men are severely overrepresented in the field of artificial intelligence. The World Economic Forum has shown that about 78% of global professionals with AI skills are male, while a study by the AI Now Institute of New York University showed that over 80% of AI professors are men. With the increasing role that AI plays in business processes, the production of goods and the products themselves, the lack of diversity in AI will become a cascade of problems. Beyond the moral point of equality in designing new artificial intelligence tools, there is also an economic one. Research has shown that companies with gender equality as well as ethnic and cultural diversity are more profitable than others. companies and universities will be crucial in determining how artificial intelligence actually will help to foster diversity and inclusion. We need to build a strong base for diversity in artificial intelligence to avoid the bias that will then be manifested in programs that will probably make up a big part of our lives. Addressing gender diversity starts with attracting more girls and women into the industry as early as possible and to consider a career in AI. For years I have been pushing for more girls in STEAM, and although we are making progress, there is still a long way to go. I'm proud that the RWTH Aachen is on the forefront of tackling the issue of our future. I now wish you a successful event and fruitful discussions. Thank you for your attention.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much, and I guess I'm pretty sure this sets the stage for our discussion today pretty perfectly. I promise you we have prepared two very interesting panels for you today. In the second panel later, I would like to talk about the particular responsibility technical universities and also the Enhance Alliance as such bear in this transformation process. But now on the first panel, I would like to ask why we are even talking and focusing on the relationship between artificial intelligence and diversity. We also want to ask what perspectives and challenges does the increased use of AI brings for diversity as a societal factor. And we want to talk about the role that diversity in turn plays for the developing of good and profitable artificial intelligence systems. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to talk about all these questions with these four experts. First of all, I would like to introduce Professor Jaroslav Arabas. Please join me on stage. I guess you may go over there. Is this the right place? Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. Professor Arabas is associate professor at the Institute for Computer Science at Warsaw University of Technology, which is a member of the Enhance Alliance, as most of you will know. There he has been teaching and researching for over 25 years now. And since 2006, he is head of the research team of artificial intelligence systems. So we are really looking forward to hearing from you, and thank you for sharing your expertise today.
Thank you.
Next to be introduced and to join me on stage is Dr. Lisbeth Venema. Dr. Lisbeth Venema, yeah, come on, join us, perfect. Welcome. I heard you had kind of trouble, yeah, coming here to Aachen.
Usual.
Yeah, maybe we talk about this aspect later. Let me introduce Dr. Lisbeth Venema. She's currently chief editor for Nature Machine Intelligence, and she has handled research and review articles across a range of topics in fundamental and applied physics, and in recent years in robotics and artificial intelligence. She studied physics at the University of Groningen and Delft University of Technology, both in the Netherlands, and received her PhD in applied physics in 2000. Great to have you here.
Thank you.
Next to join me on stage, I welcome François Lelor. It's really nice to have you here. François Lelor studied medicine and psychology and became a psychiatrist before closing his practice to spend time traveling and writing. He is now an author of several books, including a 2004 bestseller named Hector's Journey, or The Search for Happiness. And his book from 2020, I think, is called Once Upon a Time There Was a Blue Planet. And this book is a philosophical science fiction novel which takes the reader on a thought-provoking journey to a future to reflect happiness and to reflect the future of our planet. And I promise you, all of you will talk about this book later on this panel. And last but not least, I'm so happy that she's here with us today, Gabriella Wiila. Welcome. Gabriella Wiila is president of the Diversity Charter Sweden and business director of the strategic and creative agency Spoon. Her expertise lies in diversity and inclusion, employer branding, entrepreneurship and tech. And Diversity Chapter Sweden is a non-profit organization that focuses on the 7 grounds of discrimination in working life and how we can contribute to positive change. I'm really looking forward to hear from you about all these inspiring aspects of your work.
Thank you.
Well, in my job, I usually talk a lot, especially in the political sphere, about key digital technologies like artificial intelligence. And what I personally always notice is that a very few people have a clear understanding of what artificial intelligence actually is. So I am very happy that you are here today to explain these aspects. And first of all, I would like to ask Jaroslav Arabas, help us out on a fundamental basis, yeah? What is artificial intelligence and what do you think about the fact that we call these technologies behind it artificial intelligence?
Thank you very much. Well, our meeting was introduced by a politician, so politicians would say, well, that's a very interesting question. Do you have any other? Yes, it is a very interesting question because the answer depends of the perspective and of background which we have. In my opinion, we have at least from the technical point of view, we have at least 2 different perspectives. One of them is the perspective of AI, which is the domain of science and technology that is focused on building systems that look intelligent. So the most important factor is the consideration of a system to be intelligent by a person who is using it or who is interacting with it. From that perspective, a very important scientific achievement is the Turing test, in which we are going to judge whether the system with which we are interacting is a human or non-human, and if we cannot be sure about it, then the Turing test is positively passed. The second perspective, which is not necessarily contrary to that, to the first one, is the perspective of systems that can learn. That can acquire some kind of internal representation. We can attribute it to be a knowledge that is gathered from the data that has been presented to a system or the data that the system was able to collect on its own. And I think that these 2 perspectives can be attributed to different parts of a society. In my opinion, the first perspective, the systems that pretend to be intelligent, is the major perspective. I mean, people who are who don't have the background in the technology would be rather happy to think of artificial systems to be intelligent when they appear to be, or even when people want them to appear to be. For example, computer games and bots, which are intelligent, but not so much because otherwise the person would not be involved into playing the game because he or she will lose every time. And the second perspective is rather focused, that is focused on achieving knowledge from the data, is rather characteristic for people from science and technology. And from my point of view, this is the proper perspective. Because otherwise, we can attribute every, or almost every, phenomenon and achievement of technology in computer science, in mathematics, in electronics, to artificial intelligence. To some extent, AI became a synonym of computer science or of informatics, which is, from my perspective, a wrong situation, because then we mix up the concepts. So that's, I think, all about what I think the AI is. maybe the last word. Usually AI is a buzzword because people are using it in a very imprecise way without saying or without any general agreement what we are talking about, and then when speaking of phenomena which are not well defined, we can come up to conclusions which are not defined either. Thanks.
Thank you for this introduction from the technological perspective. I would like to continue with Lisbeth Venema. I know from our interview we've had a few weeks ago, I guess, that you really early on realized the far-reaching consequences AI can have on society. And you even told me that you had sleepless nights because of it. What made you lose sleep, and why should the rest of us also be concerned with the societal consequences of artificial intelligence?
Thank you for that interesting question. Yes, so in around 2017, I came into this field of AI, and I was preparing for my new job as a chief editor of a Nature machine in intelligence. It was very exciting. Lots of things were happening. The field was developing fast. Machine learning, AI was everywhere. There were lots of opportunities in other scientific fields. It made lots of impact everywhere. But it became obvious quite quickly that actually all these developments, these really fast developments, were happening without any ethical oversight. And this was in contrast to biomedical sciences, where there are very clear processes in place, where researchers have to seek approval from institutional review boards to assess whether there's any risk of harm to any human research participants. So in AI, machine learning and big data, this gets really tricky. There's no where you deal with human data scraped from the web or gathered in a different way. It's very difficult to assess what is the harm to an individual, but there is definitely a lot of risk for harm to groups of people, communities, to society, for reasons such as that data will be rife with all sorts of bias and stereotypes that will be amplified in the AI systems. There will be models will be developed based on data from where underrepresented groups will be treated less fairly because the models will be less accurate. Then there's a whole problem of various downstream applications that are possible with AI. So such as computer vision very quickly developed into all sorts of applications such as facial imaging, leading to worrying surveillance applications. And that's not even to mention the environmental cost of all these efforts. So all of these things have definitely made me lose sleep because of the sheer pace of the field. Around 2012, just a final point, around 2012, there were specific breakthroughs in gathering data, in the availability of compute resources, and these were just, people just jumped on them and went ahead, quickly developed deep learning and AI without considering much of the cost aspects. This has led to a ethical depth in AI.
Thank you for sharing this with us. I would like to continue with François Lelon. You told about your sleepless nights. When I am sleepless, I tend to read a book, and a very, very interesting book was published by you in 2020. And in this book, you take the reader on a thought-provoking journey into a distant future. Your story is actually about our world, when I am right with this, but after a nuclear apocalypse. So we humans live in this story and in this future on planet Mars, and they're on planet Mars, and this society on planet Mars is dominated by a female-dominated military government, which rules by means of artificial intelligence. We know from research that cultural artists and cultural work, like novels, films, and as well paintings and so on, make a very significant contribution to how we as a society engage with new technologies. Why do you think it's important that cultural artists like you deal with AI and the societal aspects of AI in their work, and what do you think, what contribution can you make to it, particularly when it comes to the issue of diversity?
First, thank you, Robert, for this nice introduction, and thanks to the organizer of this conference for inviting me, and especially thanks to Meli Ochkardes, who convinced me to attend this conference, because at first I was thinking, okay, I've wrote a sci-fi book, Anticipation, but am I really qualified about artificial intelligence, you know? And then I realized that as a Frenchman and a psychiatrist, I was educated to speak confidently about almost anything. So I will do it even in the presence of people really knowledgeable about the field of artificial intelligence. So I would say, you know, for my book, it's a part of a not so young cultural movement, because anticipation novels, you know, thinking of two I was very fond of in my teenage years was Brave New World by Aldous Huxley in 1984. So in a way, it's not a very new trend, but it's not so old too, because before 19th centuries, before major technological change, there was many philosophical tales like Utopia, Gulliver's Travel, Candide, but not really about the future, because in fact between the 15th century and the late 19th century, the life of the character was the same. You know, people were riding horses, were reading and loving at candlelight. So this is about technological change, and some authors think that AI is a change maybe more important for humankind than industrial revolution. So this is for why, as a cultural artist, as you say, I was interested by that topic. And about diversity, I suppose it's because of my upbringing and my profession as a healthcare professional. You know, all healthcare professionals of some sort, I swore an oath telling that you have to take care of your patients, whatever their ethnicity, beliefs, religion, sex preference. So probably that's why I was interested in that topic too. That's all.
Thank you. In the run-up to this event, we asked the participants who were already registered to take part here at the event on-site or via live stream, and we asked them to answer a question. And the question was, do you see artificial intelligence more as an opportunity or more as a challenge on the way to more diversity? And thanks to our media team, we now can take a look at the results here on the screens via Mentimeter. And as you can see, I would say a slight majority voted for, we see it as an opportunity for more diversity. And with these results in mind, Gabriella Wiila, you deal with diversity in a very particular way in your work, because you try to inspire companies to engage more towards diversity and inclusion in their organizations. In your experience, do companies also see artificial intelligence more as an opportunity on the path to inclusion and diversity, or more as a challenge? And how do you assess the attitude and the opinion of our viewers here?
I think it depends on what kind of company you are. You can be, either you are a large corporation, international, there you have the big resources, you are aware, you probably have a diversity and inclusion director on board, and you have structure when you recruit new talents. But if you are a young, fast-moving company, you probably have it inbuilt when you create the company that diversity and inclusion is something that is part of your business idea. Mm-hmm. And then, at least in Sweden, we know that 3 out of 4 jobs comes from small and mid-sized companies. So there you have the fast-moving small companies that they are aware, they are probably tech mature, and they are positively towards new technology and they see the solutions. Then you have the mid-sized companies that probably have been around for a while, and they are struggling with how should I deal with these questions. Diversity and inclusion is probably not a question that is on the table. So we have a wide spread, I would say. But if you ask them, I think they would say it is an opportunity.
It is an opportunity, like our audience here. Yeah. Thank you for this overview and for this this separation of different kinds of enterprises. I guess that's very interesting for us because we have a comparable situation where most jobs in Germany, also as you will know, come from small and mid-sized enterprises, and I guess it's also a structural characteristic of European economy as a whole. Yeah. Some of you already have raised aspects of challenges that comes with artificial intelligence, and we will go into it later. First of all, I would like to talk with you about the opportunities AI may give us to enhance diversity and inclusion. Professor Arabas, from a technological perspective, even if we are still a long way from what is called a general artificial intelligence, which can maybe explained as a kind of human-like artificial intelligence. There are certain tasks that algorithmic decision-making systems even today can perform much better than humans can. AI, no doubt, is a powerful tool. Can you explain us what capabilities do AI systems have that can be used for socially useful and especially diversity-enhancing purposes?
Well, I think that AI as such doesn't seem the diversity problem at all. This is the, and speaking even more generally, technology itself is neutral. I cannot agree that it is not. But ethically is not neutral what people are doing with that technology. So the usage of tools rather than tools themselves are under the ethical judgment. Spoken that, I would say that I have no doubt how to answer your question, but AI is a useful tool. AI, I mean AI looking at both perspectives. The perspective of AI, of building, let's say, systems that look like humans, may sometimes give us kind of a pleasure. I mean computer games, I mean companion robots, and it may also give us death. I mean warfare, which has AI included into its equipment. It may influence the society by, for example, electronic trade or other economical decisions that are made with the support of AI. It also can be used on systems that disintegrate the society, namely in systems that advertise goods or advertise texts to people who are using the internet, putting them deeper and deeper into a very narrowly focused part of reality. And there is something in us as humans that we believe the technology. We are very naive, in fact. And especially we are very naive when using the technology which pretends to be nice, which pretends to be very pleasant, which pretends to be human-like. From my perspective, there is no such technology that can be human-like, because we humans are not computer programs. We have our own biological body, and it cannot be replaced by anything else, as a system, of course. We have our mind and our way of thinking, which cannot be replaced. Of course, I can agree that, for example, when I am conducting the scientific scientific council meeting, then I can quite well predict what a person will say in reaction to some information. Okay, but this is the person's choice what to speak about. There is no need for using AI for such a prediction, because we, the people, we are following stereotypes. We are following stereotypical behaviors and stereotypical perception of the world, and it is a heuristically useful way of living. Because if we would have to forget about the stereotypes, then we will have to think over every particular decision in our life, which will be a terrible thing. So the AI systems may try to reveal what are these stereotypical behaviors and reactions to messages that are passed to a person, and they can mimic them. But they will not replace the human, because we, the humans, are not technical systems. So I'm sorry for not answering the question, but something aside, but I hope related to the question was in my words.
It does, definitely, and I would like to try to move the focus from the technological perspective to the company level. Gabriella Wiila, when we look at particular application areas in companies for artificial intelligence, where can artificial intelligence make a difference in a positive sense, and how can companies use artificial intelligence really to enhance?
Well, the first that comes to mind is, of course, recruitment, which is used today. But you need to understand how the AI is helping you when you do this. You need to have the human aspect as well, to analyze the data that you actually get. So I think that is the first one, but I think you can use it inside the company when you have recruited people, salary levels, who is getting promoted, etc. But still you have to have the human aspects to it, because then it's getting useful for the company. Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Coming back to the scientific sphere, somehow, Lisbeth Venema, you told me in the interview we've had a few weeks before that the topic of societal consequences of AI has been slowly moving into the focus also of machine learning conferences over the last years. What potential application areas are discussed in the tech scene and tech science when it comes to the use of AI in terms of fostering diversity?
Right. Okay. So that's a hard one. So I think what's been happening in the last couple of years is that the AI and machine learning community has started to understand the ethical problems, the ethical depth, and they've introduced at their big conferences, which is the main outlet, processes to prompt contributors to think about the ethical consequences, the societal impact of their work. They've introduced checklists and to request a broader impact statements, which is what we are also doing in our journal. But the focus needs to be shifted also to the start of the research project, the design of the project, where all the research integrity questions should be thought over. And there should be questions asked. This is not really answering your question, but I think what needs to be done is we need more diverse teams at the start of developing AI systems. A more diverse team will be able to ask critical questions. They will even ask, should we actually make this? They will ask critical questions about what data should we gather, how to maintain it. And I think the point also there is that, and I slightly disagree with what Professor Habel said about technology being neutral. I think it's almost never so. I think it is nearly always embedded in a socio-technical environment, there will always be humans. There will always be humans at the start using it at every single point. I'm actually not quite sure I've answered your question.
I guess you does, and I promise you we will come back to this aspect of neutrality or not neutrality of AI systems later with another question. We are talking about very concrete, very practical or scientifically based expectations of how could AI help us in future, to foster diversity and inclusion. And there is another aspect of expectation that is called fictional or expectations or imagined futures. It's a term shaped by Jens Becker, a German sociologist, who pointed out the connection that fictional expectations and imagined futures are an important factor actually shaping the economic behavior of companies, of consumers, as well as the behavior and the decisions made by politicians. So I would like to ask François Lelor, if you imagine, let's try to imagine a positive future, let's say in 2040. How will artificial intelligence help us in 2040 to make the vision of a more diverse and inclusive society a reality?
I would say, as other speakers, I will try not to answer to your question. But I would say, maybe as you, Lisbeth, sometimes I'm not sure it may help us. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes, I imagine in my book, it's a fact, because I can imagine artificial intelligence like a kind of Darwinian superpower who will, select decide of the education, of the vocational path of people, and with them not even knowing what is the algorithm, how it was decided. So, and just, doing that for the general good, for because, to minimize the social cost, the health cost. So I could imagine something like that. But it's like psychiatry. When I see psychiatrists in the movie, most of them they are either crazy or criminals or incompetent. But I said no, all the psychiatrists are not really like that. So maybe artificial intelligence is not that threatening. But no, my concern would be about transparency. So who will be able to know how the data have been selected, how the algorithm has been, it's kind of blind spot. It's a little disquieting for me. But I would say on the other hand, if I step into a plane, or if I confine my life to a surgeon, I would prefer he has been selected by the totally diversity blind program. And probably it would be better than a human, because a human, even good-willing, can be influenced by stereotypes. And so I think at some points diversity may be relevant for education, but I think for education, for selection in some fields, the diversity, I would prefer avoid them for, the choice of my surgeon, of the pilot who is piloting my plane. So I would prefer whatever minority he belongs or she belongs, as soon as has been selected only they have been selected only on their skills.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's a point where almost everybody here will agree with your perspective, what should be how we should be able to organize and to govern our society in terms of diversity in the future. Let's try to switch from the positive side, from the side of opportunities and chances that are that AI can bring us, to the perspective of challenges. And we had this very, very interesting conversation here, kind of conversation about the question of, is AI neutral or is it not neutral? For many years, civil society organizations, as well as scientists from different fields of expertise, have been discussing the risks of using artificial intelligence. And one application area that is almost always in focus of this debate is the use of AI in recruiting. You mentioned this application area before. Automated job interviews can be realized by means of AI, for example, and also the selection of applicants can be partially be automated with digital applications. And the companies offering these kind of AI systems promise, for example, to be able to use their systems to make the personality profile or the emotional status of an applicant measurable. The selling argument behind is that technologies make selection decisions more objective. And Professor Arabas, the idea behind this argument is that technology is neutral in most cases. So you told us that you think that your perspective is that technology is kind of neutral. How can we solve this different perspective you bring here to the panel? Where is the common ground you find both coming from this different perspective on these questions?
Well, I will stay with my opinion that the technology is neutral because the technology is not the subject of ethical responsibility. But it's definitely not neutral how the technology is used by humans, who are the subjects of ethical responsibility. And taking the example of recruitment, we should consider how such a recruitment system is built. Usually, the system is built on the basis of data that have been gathered from previous recruitments. Usually, these recruitments, especially in large companies, were made in a kind of stereotypical way. Then these stereotypes that have been observed in the decisions that have been made will be included into the rules that have been generated by the AI system. So the system will mimic the action of people who previously made such decisions. If the decisions were different, then the system will also recommend other different decisions. Mm-hmm. Because the AI system itself cannot investigate, cannot come up to some other conclusions than the data that has been presented to the system prior to its learning, mm-hmm. or during its learning. So maybe here we can agree with Lisbeth that to some extent the ethical non-neutrality comes from the data that are presented to the AI systems, that are processed by the AI system, either from the nature of the data, for example, sensitive biological data like the DNA of a person, which contains the information about possible health problems in the future. And sometimes the problem is in the decisions that have been previously made, and now we are building the system that will mimic these decisions.
Thank you for sharing your perspective. I would like to ask you again, what do you think? Is this a kind of common ground you find here? And if not, what does it mean for how to develop an AI system?
So I think I think it's not just about the data. It can't be. It is the building a AI tool. There will be socio-technical questions coming in at every stage. From the first question, why? I mean, why are we building this? For who is it intended? Who will use it? How is it developed? And then what data will we be gathering? So you can say that it depends on what's in the data. If the data is biased or wrong, then you will get a bad AI tool. But the data gathering is also a socio-technical process. Someone has to go out and decide what data to gather, and then there's not just, if you use a supervised a training mechanism, then you need annotators. Who is annotating? There are just so many questions at every single stage. That I cannot accept the statement that that AI systems are neutral in their own right.
Based on this controversial perspectives, I would like to ask you, Gabriella. That seems to be a very different starting point for companies, yeah, to exploit AI, to foster diversity, or even not to harm society in terms of diversity. How can a company deal with such an issue responsibly then?
A very difficult question. I think that you need to understand why you use an AI tool to do something, and you need to understand what you want to achieve with this. But I think that companies need a little help from our friends in the society. I think we need to have an ongoing discussion about technology, but I also think that we need to have an ongoing discussion about what kind of society do we want to have, and what part does diversity and inclusion play in that, and what part does technology play in that. And I mean, businesses exist because they want to achieve something. They want to create something, and they employ people, and from there we can have a positive development. Done wrong, we could lose track, and basically everything can go to the bottom.
Hopefully, we as Enhance Alliance can contribute to this societal conversation. You said we should continue with. I would like to ask Elizabeth Venema and to pick up one aspect which was already mentioned before: computer science as a research field, and tech companies as well. Today are predominantly male-dominated, yeah, as we all know, and also there is sometimes a kind of nerd culture which is also rooted in, which has also its roots in a male-dominated sphere. What impact does this aspect have on the technological development, and how is this discussed in the tech community?
Right. Yes. I mean that is a big issue. But I would like to actually to say something positive first, though, because I think actually the field of AI and machine learning is actually open to everyone, and a lot of people are coming in. There are so many opportunities. There are so many possible applications in industry, in science, and we see a lot of researchers from all sorts of fields and walks of lives and backgrounds coming into this. And so also once again the machine learning conferences, which play a very big role in the field, are often very, they have a range of organizers from diverse backgrounds. They have panel discussions, workshops. It feels very inclusive. But on the other hand, there's also the big tech problem, and a lot of the state-of-the-art algorithms that are sort of pushing the frontiers of the field they tend to be developed by, well, what I would call tech bros. Probably not nerds in my book, and this is. This may not be a fair observation, and I hope people will be countering that. But I think that is a problem, that it's mainly the tech bros who are developing the algorithms that are pushing the field really fast without thinking through the underlying cost. Wait, did I answer your question?
I guess you did, and for me it's surprisingly, but I thank you very much also for this kind of encouraging outlook you gave us here with your statement, especially in the beginning. In addition to the aspect of diversity of developers communities, there is often a call for more interdisciplinarity also, and I would like to ask you, François Lelor, as a trained psychologist who's now writing novels, what is the potential of interdisciplinarity in the development of new technologies? I ask you because you are kind of the impersonated interdisciplinarity here on stage.
But I think it already there is a lot of interdisciplinarity. For example, when you think about the psychological tests, so they are created by psychologists, but after that there is a lot of hard maths, statistics and probabilities to make a test reliable. So I think this kind of collaboration exists, or like today in facial emotion recognitions just by facial expression. So I think really it will happen because I think for some tech or math people are interested in human science, and it's oppositely on our side we are fascinated too by technology. So in my novel I went a step further. For example, in the colony, women don't have to be pregnant anymore, and so the babies are just like in many sci-fi movies, they grow in kind of aquarium, and they are delivered, at birth after 9 months. And after we have to decide, okay, which young women may play a role as a mother, and which ones are not really gifted for that. And so what is invented by the artificial intelligence is you just have to give to them a firstborn to hold and to have a functional brain scan of their brain, and according to the reaction, the map of the reaction is decided if they will be mother or not. So I think for me it's not. I don't say it's a desirable goal, but it's like an idea about the maximum collaboration between very soft science, attachment, maternal instinct, and very hard one in a way, MRI scan. And obviously with a lot of statistics to decide which part of the brain are relevant to predict a good motherly behavior.
I'm pretty sure there are some guys here in the room which are already make notes for their next funding application after this outlook. No, just kidding. But all kidding aside, finally, I would like to give you a creative task as the last question, and I would invite you to answer very shortly. In the novel by our friend François Lelor, mentioned before, an AI rules a human civilization. Whether this is in utopia or in dystopia, I leave it up to you. But I would like to invite you to imagine the following. We live in a distant future. You are part of a working group that is supposed to achieve the impossible, to develop a general artificial intelligence. There is one last vacancy in your working group, so you can only select one more person to work with you on this topic. Who from this panel would you choose to work with you? Maybe we start on your side.
Well, so
I'm not sure. Would you join the working group?
No, no. But if I had to, so then so it's a big question, right? What is AGI? What's artificial general intelligence? And I think it's quite clear that what we have now, all the powerful AI systems, they're all narrow. They're not going to be developed. It's a dead end. It's not going to be AGI. We won't be able to develop them into such a system that will understand us and the world and everything else. So we need imagination. We need to understand what is intelligence. We need to have new ideas. So I think I would go for the novelist, if I may.
Okay, you already teamed up. I will ask you, Professor Arabas.
Well, I will definitely ask Francois when speaking of five of us, because he is a psychologist and he will help the team to recover from the pain of not creating the general AI.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And who would you go with?
Well, I tend to go with the flow. So,
so you have to decide.
It's a very difficult question, and maybe I will decline.
Okay. In the beginning, you were joking. You joked
Just because
yeah.
I liked.
Can you decide?
No, I like what you said about technology is not moral, which I think too. It depends from where comes the data, where are the people programming. But I like too the way you are very concerned about some nightmarish future, and obviously I like very much your experience about really artificial intelligence in real settings, recruiting, for example, training, managing HR. So really I would have very difficulties to pick just one people.
Thank you very much. And just one last note from my side. Some of you were joking about politicians not answering questions. I would suggest maybe you also try to enter politics for another career. Now, all kidding aside, I thank you so much for your time, for sharing your expertise, your knowledge and your perspectives, and I really look forward to continue with our conversation after this event this evening. Thank you so much. Take again your seat, and this is your applause.
If I go into politics, I will ask you to be my coach.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, François. Well, this was such an interesting conversation, but unfortunately we have to move on. But that's also a good news, because the second panel is also very, very interesting, because now we have set the topic, we have set the stage and have opened up the topic area of today's event. We have learned that AI can help somehow to strengthen diversity. We have learned that it also can be part of the problem. We have learned that interdisciplinarity is an important aspect, and also that diversity in developers' communities can be a very important aspect. So in the second panel, I will ask, what is the responsibility of technological university to achieve these goals? What can Enhanced Alliance do in future, and what role do companies play that develop technologies and also employ people trained at technical universities? And now it's my pleasure to introduce the next 4 panelists and experts for our second part of today's event. First of all, to join the stage, welcome to Professor Geraldine Rauch. She was appointed to as president of the Technical University of Berlin, I guess in April 2022 this year. Prior to joining TU Berlin, she was director of the Institute of Biometry and Clinical Epidemiology at Charité Universitätsmedizin Berlin. So I'm very happy to have you here on stage and to share your perspectives, and I would like to learn more about what Technical University of Berlin is already doing in this
Thank you. And my name is Geraldine, not Geraldine.
Pardon, sorry. I'm very sorry. Well, next to join me on stage is Dr. Natascha Eckert. Welcome in Aachen. Natascha Eckert has a wealth of experience in innovation management and also in developing strategic university and industry partnerships. She joined Siemens, which is an associated partner.
Big company.
A very, very big company. Some of you may know, but it is also an associated partner of Enhance Alliance. You joined the company in, when I'm right, in 1999, and for the past 7 years, Natascha Eckert has been global head of university relations. For over 10 years, she has also been a prominent promoter of women in tech leadership and how we can take action to advance this rather than just talking about it. Unfortunately, we will talk today, but maybe this will create action in future. Next, I would like to introduce Professor Hannes Wertner. Welcome on stage. Very nice to have you here. He's a co-founder of the Digital Humanism Initiative. Humanism Initiative, and Professor Emeritus for e-commerce at Technical University Berlin. And there he held several roles in the Faculty of Computer Science and carried out research on various mathematical problems, as well as exploring practical applications of technology in society. He is also the editor of the collective work named Perspectives on Digital Humanism, which comprises a collection of 46 articles from experts on the interplay of humans and technology. And last but not least, I'm very pleased that he is here with us today, joining the stage. He was mentioned before as the organizer, as one of the main organizers of today's event, Melich Özkadesh. Welcome.
Thank you. I have to say, I apologize for my voice, as you can hear it, but it should be fine, I think.
Yeah, you just have to sing in the end of the event. So,
I will try.
Yeah.
I could hear him coughing tonight, and I really thought, poor guy next to my room. But he's here. So.
Yes, he survived.
This very poor but also friendly and competent guy is Ombudsman and the work package lead of diversity and gender equality in the Enhance Alliance. He is also a full-time member of the Division International Strategy at RWTH Aachen University, and his primary focus is to enhance diversity and gender equality and inclusion of groups with fewer opportunities as well in all activities of Enhance Alliance. So, thank you that you are here today, and we will pick up some of the topics we have raised in the first panel. First, I would like to ask Hannes Wertner. You have been working on the co-evolution of humans and technology for a long time. In your view, what responsibility do technical universities bear to foster responsible development and application of AI, especially in terms of diversity?
So first of all, thanks for the invitation, and also congratulations to this Enhance network. I think it's one of the important issues within the European research and educational space. Before answering your question, I would like to mention one thing. I think what was not mentioned previously, that we are overestimating the power of AI. Because in many of the cases it does not work. Look at autonomous driving and things like that. We have 5 levels, we are between level 2 and 3, so they are, let's say it's a hype. We are talking a lot about it, and I think we should come back to the technological basis of it. So the reason I'm invited is this Digital Humanism Initiative, which is an example how technical universities can engage in an interaction with society. This started at TU Wien in 2019. Colleagues of some of the universities here are participating, from TU Berlin, from Politecnico to Milano, so it's not only me, we are a broader group already. And we are dealing with the issue of digital transformation. I think this is the more proper term, which is, we see it as a socio-economic technical process, which has some dynamics, but it's not an automatic process, so we can interfere with that. Digital humanism is dealing with this interplay of man and machine, and to analyze that and also to interfere for a better society. This is what we are looking at. So it's not only AI, it's also fake news, it's surveillance, it's platform economy, it's monopolization in the web, it's autonomic weapons. So this is what we are looking at. And when you hear these terms, these issues, you see that it's a transdisciplinary endeavor and you need other discipline. It's not only technology. Technology cannot solve alone, so we need others. What have we done in those years since 2019, where we had the first workshop with 100 participants from many different disciplines, from philosophy up to computer science? We have done lecture series. We have up to now 35 lecture series with colleagues from all over the world. We have a program committee with nearly 40 persons all over the world. We have published a book you have mentioned. We have done a summer school, and we have reached a political level already, because you can find the notion of digital humanism in the Austrian governmental program, and also some foreign ministers of the European Union have signed a declaration supporting digital humanism. So I take this as an example where an initiative coming out from a technical university, realizing that it's not technology alone, you need others, you need to partner, but you have some, let's say, in cooperation and conversation, communication with society, you can change something. And this is, I think, university, the task of the university is not only to educate, but also to contribute to a better world. And this is, I think, what technical universities can do.
Thank you very much for answering the question, for giving this advice. Let's switch to Geraldine Rauch. When I'm right, the Technical University of Berlin is no doubt one of the leading technological universities in Europe. How do you look at the responsibility of your university and other universities for the societal consequences of artificial intelligence?
Well, universities generally have the task to educate people and to educate the next generation, and therefore I think we learned from the previous discussion that there are many fields coming together where we have to educate people. And let me add one more thing to the previous discussion, that getting the wrong conclusion from biased data is not something which is unique to AI, but it can also happen in humans. So, and this is something where we come back again to this educational aspect. Because at the technical universities, of course, we have the education in the technical stuff, in the data science stuff. This is something which haven't been discussed. I mean, it's not like here you have the data and then you put it in and then you have this toolbox and everything gets out. No, it's much more work. And it's not just one discipline and one toolbox you have to apply to get artificial intelligence work. So there are several disciplines. You need informatics, you need mathematics and many others. And of course, you also need social science and discussion how you could apply it, where you could apply it. And I think so far we haven't discussed the really innovative applications. So recruiting, of course, you can discuss about it because it's a gender and humanity topic. But there are other topics which will be much more important in the future. Let's, for example, say we have the problem that we have a demographic change. So in the future, we will not have people anymore who do some things. For example, being in the medical area, where so in your field. We will simply have no doctors anymore for the many old people to treat them. And then we will be very happy if we have some tools that help us from getting from data to make some diagnosis or even some therapy propositions. That doesn't mean that we replace the human beings, but I think we will not be in the position that we can say, oh, this is a toolbox alien, we don't need it, but we will have to use it because we have no other opportunities. And for this case, when we are there, we really have to have trained people which think about it, which know all the disciplines, and this is something that happens at the technical universities.
Thank you very much also for pointing out this very, very important aspect we haven't talked about in the first panel, as you mentioned. Natascha Eckert, Siemens is a global company, you mentioned it before, and associated partner of Enhance Alliance, and you hire, actually, you're hiring many graduates from technical universities. What awareness of diversity do you notice in your company, and to what extent is this also already discussed in the connection with artificial intelligence?
The bridge is a bit difficult, and you will see bridging the diversity in the AI was not so easy for me. I think, therefore, I ended up on the second panel because I said I'm not a specialist in AI, and we have so many more. I'm really glad that I'm on the second panel. Siemens is a huge company, so we count in the meantime 300,000 employees. I think we have 170 different nationalities. So I would say we are pretty diverse. And but I wanted to talk about gender diversity because I think this is still an issue. Also for Siemens, we have overall, I think 27% at the moment of the overall workforce are women. And I think as for any other organization, we have 30% on the entry level, and then climbing up the ladder and the hierarchy getting less and less. So I think that's a huge issue for Siemens. On the other hand, I think we have a high management attention on the topic. We have a device, and I think it was mentioned in the first round. So we have a diversity office. We have a diversity manager since 2008. We are tackling the topic. We also have targets. So I think we have the 30% target workforce overall, but on all the different levels. So entry level, overall workforce management level, and also expert level. I think also in research, expert level is pretty interesting. And we have recently discussed the topic. It's super male dominated. So, and I think that the young women and the young female researchers working for Siemens, they do not really dare to enter these groups of males. So this is something where we now really want to have a clear plan, a development plan. We have shares, promotion shares for the female expert career. We have female shares on the succession list. We have female shares on the recruiting list. So I think you really have to get some numbers. At the beginning, I was not a real fan of having this quota, but I see it's really necessary to create a kind of critical mass. And interestingly, as soon as you have a bit this critical mass, women attract other women, and this is a phenomenon I see. This is something I think we can work harder, and now coming to AI, and I'm preaching now a bit artificially. We also hire a lot of graduates from not only the technical universities coming from computer science with a whatever special focus on AI or machine learning. We still hire more men than women. I think there are less women available, also on the graduation level. This is certainly something we have to also address together with the technical universities or with other universities. But it also means that I think I'm not sure what you think when you hear Siemens, but often even the students associate Siemens with a dishwasher and a coffee machine. And we say, okay, but have you ever heard about industrial metaverse or driverless driving trains or the smart net zero buildings? And there is where really AI comes into the game. And this is, I think, we have to do some more homework there. I do not touch the recruiting thing because I know that we will be starting to work with an AI-enabled recruiting tool. I'm super curious to see how this will work, because normally when we hire for my team and we care about the university relations, it's spread by the mouse. We have working students, the working students attract others, so it's a lot about the chemistry. I'm not sure how this will work with an AI-enabled recruiting tool, but maybe you get a first pre-selection with a whatever kind of more objective mix or match, but this we will see.
Thank you very much. I'm pretty sure that the Enhanced Alliance chose the topic of today's event very, very carefully, and therefore I would like to answer Melich for the reasons. Why did you choose this topic 2022, and what are your expectations for today's discussion?
Again, I apologize for my voice, and I will do my best. But it was actually a logical choice. We just heard about industrial revolution. We just heard artificial intelligence is more important than that revolution. And I don't think that there was a discussion about diversity and inclusion in 1800 back then. Now it is time that we start this discussion already now, before it's too late. Maybe it is already in some aspects too late. We hear also from the first panels. But still, now we should open this dialogue. This is what we want to do, of course, as an alliance of universities. And we don't want to do this alone. We cannot do this alone. That's why with our partners, interdisciplinarity, and to discuss with novelists, with journalists, with writers, and also with the society. And I think there is a lot that we should map. This is also my expectation today, that we map and explore possible joint action fields so that we can continue our work as Enhanced Alliance.
Thank you for that. We will come back later on aspects of what should and what will Enhanced Alliance do in the next years, as you are also actually are involved in the application process for the new funding period. But first of all, I would like to switch the focus to the perspective of our participants. So in the run-up of our event today, we asked second questions. We asked to answer a second questions to our registered participants, and the question was, what do technological universities need to do to raise awareness of societal implications of artificial intelligence? So let's take a look at the results. Ooh. And I was told before that it will be shown very, very small, yeah, but it's really good that Hannes Wertner is standing next to this screen, because I would invite you to react to these results. What, in the context of the question, what possibilities do technical universities even have to strengthen the awareness of the societal implications of AI? And of course, do you see there anything which is a good idea for you?
I just wanted to refer to this graph and diversity. Diversity is not only gender, it's also age. So if you have elderly guys, never produce something like this because they cannot read it. And it's becoming even worse when you ask them to give an interpretation. So now I am a black box AI machine where you cannot interfere how it works, but I produce some results. I think you have to, what you can do, I think you have to communicate with the public. You have to tell them on a rational, scientific point of view, what are the capabilities of these technologies and what is not feasible. What is a hype? What does not work? So this is a serious issue, not only going on this newspaper level and things like that. You have to go to education, you have to go to research, you have to foster interdisciplinarity in a sense that you also hire guys who are those who have this background already. I think this is a very important issue because you have to have an institutionalized interdisciplinarity, not only on the level of projects. So I was once proposing at TU Vienna that we should hire philosophers. We should have an institute for philosophy, no? So this was not a very long, successful discussions we had, but I think this is an important issue what technical universities could do. I would like to mention one thing which I'm very proud of, what we did at the Faculty of Computer Science. We were teaching, or we are still teaching, bildungsferne Jugendlichen, how do you translate it? Young persons with limited education who leave school after 15, don't find work, they are unemployed, and our students are teaching them computer science. And it's super interesting what's happening there. So not we all, because if they come to the room, they don't believe me anything what they say, those youngsters. But our students can do that. And this is something, an interaction with society. This is something I think technical universities should do. Taking responsibility of your societal task and issues, and technology is not the only means. It's just part of the solution, it's not the solution.
You've mentioned the word transdisciplinarity, and I would pick up this aspect because the Technical University of Berlin is also already engaged in this kind of strategy. For example, you have established the Berlin Ethics Lab, when I am right, for responsible AI and responsible human-machine interaction. What is your approach as a university, and how do you strengthen with these initiatives and others the awareness for societal dimensions of technology, and are there any particular target groups?
Well, generally, we put, as you said, a very big focus on transdisciplinarity. So there's not only one subject which work for its own, but we try to bring them all together. And as you said, this is very important. We also give a big focus on knowledge exchange. That means that we, of course, have to educate our students, but also we have to go into interaction with the society, not only in the one direction that we educate, for example, students or pupils, but on the other hand, that topics and ideas also come from the society. Because when I studied maths, for example, it was very theoretically, and after my studies, I already said, like, nobody would ever employ me for that. What could I do with this theoretical stuff? And this is really something, I mean, the subject was very nice, but I really feel that we all have to, I mean, it's of course important that you have this this research in some theoretical areas, but it's also important that you have the knowledge and they have the perspective that you can exchange with colleagues or with other students. And this is something which we can do at a university where we have a very broad field of subjects and studies, which also come from the social side. So also as a technical university, we do not only have engineering, and this is really something which is also diversity, that we do not feel like, okay, this is my subject, this is your subject. And this is also a big task for researchers, that we have to make our research interesting and understandable for the public, because only in this way we can really bring our ideas to application, and the other way around, ideas to our research. And I think at the technical universities this works quite well, especially because we work with industry, because of course this is a big partner to exchange ideas and with the idea to bring something really in life. And therefore I think that the Alliance here has a very important impact for this.
Let's take a look at the results of all these initiatives already established in technical universities. Natascha Eckert, I mentioned before that, of course, your company is also hiring many graduates from technical universities. How high is the awareness among those graduates for diversity in tech?
I would say it's very high. So we always say we want to hire a bit better than the market, which is a challenging task. And having talked about the digital transformation of Siemens, we are not yet well known as a digital company. So the applicants or the graduates often apply or go to the big tech players, Google, Microsoft, which are well known. So that's a bit the challenge we have, and the women we address, we try to address them very early, because they want to really know, what are you doing there? What are you doing to promote the women? And we have a program now in place. I think we started it in 2010 to really develop women in technology and innovation. It's in Siemens' internal program. But we want to open it more and more to the outside world. And and this is great to see that we have so many grassroots initiatives within Siemens coming from our female researchers or female employees working more in the innovation arena, that they say we kick off those kind of networks or circles. So, for example, we have the Siemens Female Data Science Network, and it's really a self-organized network, and they are raising challenges for female computer scientists, but they are also discussing, let's say, the new European AI Act. So they try to really build up a network. We have femtech talks where we especially just position role models out of Siemens, and those can be female managers, but this can be female tech experts working in the whatever arena, AI arena or big data. And I think this is something which is super important for us to showcase what we are offering. And therefore I like the offerings coming also from the universities, because we need this kind of door on the other side. So I think we have had at least one of our female researchers, she was a visiting professor at TU Berlin. There is this joint program for, it's the female, what is it, scientists and professionals. So super interesting program. So the female researcher, she took really a sabbatical, worked at TU Berlin. I think highly valuable for both sides, and she applied because it was a dedicated program for females. I think she wouldn't have applied if it has been a quite normal program, PhD visiting professorship program. So I think that's, or even in Aachen, I think there is this kind of forum for female doctorate candidates, and this is something what's absolutely crucial also for us, to have a connecting point, so where we can connect our networks with the outside world and really just place role models and speak quite openly also about the difficulties you are facing when being maybe a female researcher in a male-dominated team of material scientists, for example.
We've heard a lot of all the different initiatives out there in universities and companies and in the cooperation between universities and companies, and the Enhance Alliance, of course, has a pretty good understanding and a pretty good overview about all what is happening in the universities in your alliance. Milich Özkadesh, do you have the feeling that the issue we are discussing today has already reached the awareness of all universities out there in Europe?
I think, before I answer your question, I want to come back to the Mentimeter graphic that no one could read. Yeah. Imagine someone also...
You could read.
I could not read also, but someone programmed this, of course, without thinking that it is maybe difficult to read for someone from a distance.
Was it you?
No, but I made the Mentimeter and sent it to all people. And then at the end you can already come up with that example. So it is not an inclusive programming. I think it's not artificial intelligence. It is just something that is programmed, but it is not good. So only on that level already it is not good. There is a lot to do. Yeah. But back to your question, I think there is already an awareness about the topic, but this is not enough. We know it from experience. There is lots of awareness about healthy food. We should eat healthy. Do we eat healthy? Maybe yes, maybe no. We can be self-critical, and you can just go on with other examples. So we should really do more than just awareness. This is also actually what is all diversity and inclusion all about. What we do is not only raising awareness, that just ends somewhere in the space, on the moon, on Artemis 1. So it's more. So we need these common actions that we map together. So I think this is maybe the next step. That's why it is good that we open this dialogue about this already now. And I also want to ask one more aspect about the awareness discussion. So we also talk about females, for example. But I just want to remind us, it is not only about underrepresentation of women in these technical fields, in all these data that is presented to artificial intelligence systems and so on. We have also lots of other underrepresented groups, or let me say it differently, we have also lots of groups in the society. We need to represent them in all our activities, basically. Not only gender differences, but also people with disabilities, people with migration background, with different religious or sexual orientation. They are also out there in the society. So we need them also in our solutions, whatever we do with artificial intelligence.
I would like to ask Geraldine Rauch how to address all these different groups when trying to foster diversity in the university body.
Well, it's very difficult, and this is also one reason because we have not a status which is acceptable, I think. But there's one topic for academic careers. We have some indicators which are like publications or project funding, which we always count. So when you apply to a professorship or whatever or group leading position, these are the main numbers. Of course, you also have to say something about teaching, but it's more like saying something, not so much what you're doing directly. And I think these are also these indicators, which are on the one hand, from a research perspective, of course, discussable, but of course we get also this gender and diversity biases, because we focus on very specific and very straight academic path, and in particular in technical universities, we have very different academic careers, because some people first go to the industry, and that's not always the case that people do a PhD, for example. They might have different experiences from different working perspectives. So I think at the technical universities there's already a solid ground to change this perspective. At other universities where it's even more academic, it's an even bigger task to do. And this is something where I should really start. So, and this is something we can influence, of course, in our own commissions for professors, where we really say, okay, we give people a chance which might not be directly under these conditions. There are also some like indicators which are for long discussed, but would never really have an influence. For example, we are always looking at the number of publications when we look at applications, but you know that this has something to do with the academic age, but nobody really knows what the academic age is. And we also had discussions in our university how to calculate it. And so a very simple thing, not given the one solution, but just say, okay, you have to calculate the academic age so you can see what a fair comparison about the number of publications is in this stage. For example, this is very low level, of course, but it's still not happening. So we are talking about artificial intelligence for recruitment, but in fact, even about our own recruitment mechanisms and indicators, we are not sure what to use. And I think it's known since long that our indicators are not good for building up people and building up also leadership profiles for the next generations and for the challenges we have.
Thank you very much. I would try to switch to the Technical University of Vienna to get an insight of all the different approaches you have ever tried, Professor Wertner. So, and when you look back at all the different approaches you have tried to establish to foster diversity at TU Vienna, which measures to strengthen diversity have been successful, and even more interesting from my perspective would be to learn more about which approaches have proven less successful.
Two starting remarks to this hiring. I think Kant nor Gödel would have become professors today because they have not published properly. Gödel was even discussed controversially. He changed the world, by the way, no? But I don't know, he did not become professor in Vienna, so we have a problem with our processes. I would like to thank you for the diversity definition. I was waiting for that, because the issue of diversity is rather complicated because we have no indicators. We have an indicator on male or female. We don't know the migration background. We don't know anything about religion or something like that, at least at TU Wien. So you cannot do anything if you don't have any data of that. So what we have is gender diversity, and this is something we did, okay? I learned that this, first of all, you have to discuss it. It was faculty level, not TU, it was faculty level, so you have to discuss it in all committees and boards. That is an issue during hiring, even within other boards. You have this attract, keep and promote, so you have to attract female students, you have to keep them, and then you have to promote. I think we were not very successful. We have many measures for attracting. We had specific courses programming only for girls after school, okay, so that they had this disadvantage that the boys were somehow more technology affine, no? So this did not work, okay, so we had At TU Wien Informatics, we had 20% female students at the beginning, and this is what we, despite all the initiatives we did, we could not raise this, okay? Where we were successful, we could keep them by specific measures, and where we were very successful was on the promotion level. We were very successful in hiring female profs, associate profs in tenure track positions. With a specific measure, we had dedicated position for female profs, so it was only for female applications, but we could really raise the percentage. So we have a, let's say from the educational professorship, we could increase the numbers, and there we were successful. We were not successful at the entrance level. For young female students, we could not, we did many different things. We visited schools, we did teaching at high schools and things like that. We had role models, approaches, we had some very well-known female professors, but I don't know why it did not work. We were not very successful on that level. And I think this is an issue technical universities have.
On this panel...
I would like to ask you, sorry for interrupting your moderation, how is it at other technical universities? Sorry for that.
Professor Habel?
Same.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I'm completely...
Too slowly increasing. Also,
sorry for interrupting this.
No, it's a really good question. And I would like to ask the next question to Geraldine Rauch. You were talking about the recruitment process of new professors, and you also mentioned this as a very important aspect in our interview we've had a few weeks ago. Let us know, what opportunities do you, as the president of a technical university, have to work strongly towards diversity at this kind of level? And are there any conditions that you need to be even more successful? For example, can politics do anything for you in this aspect?
Well, generally, I completely agree that it's very, very difficult because, of course, we are trying to centrally give incentives or input that in our commissions we really put a focus on diversity and gender equality. And we also see an increasing trend, but what we also see is that we have overproportionally many women in professorships in the social science. So our good quote in the general is not in the technical fields. And we have a massive gender pay gap still, which I was really shocked when we get the numbers. So that really there you really see that it's a big problem, which is not only related to the recruitment, but to many different aspects. But let me add one thing. I mean, we are talking a lot about diversity and how people feel if they are in a class where there are only men or whatever. But it's also like we give them the focus to do that. I mean, just imagine you're a young woman, female machine engineering student, and then everybody asks you, how do you feel as a female student in this class? And you are asked this 5 times a week. I don't know if it's the right focus to say, okay, this is great, you do it, and this is just normal. I mean, it's also like putting the focus on things is like people have no other properties than being female or diverse. And therefore, I also think we need like role models or a normality that we all just diverse, and maybe there are a few more men, but we can live with it, and this is not a problem, and it's not a focus we put on.
Thank you for this argument, and that you made this point very clear at this point. I would like to give you, Natascha Eckert, the opportunity to draw up a kind of wish list. That's a unique possibility. So of course we are heading towards Christmas. So you can try here in Aachen with us next to a very beautiful Christmas market to draw up your wish list. And I would like to invite you to draw up a wish list. What do you like to see from technical universities, so that you in future as Siemens can be able to hire from an even more diverse pool of graduates? What would that wish list look like?
That's a hard question, because now.
But you can wish everything.
My feeling is after what I've heard, that my wish list is getting more wishful thinking list. because I would have really, what I know from at least our female researchers, what they are always telling me, we have only so little female role models in academia. And that's exactly what we just discussed about, so how to get more women in more senior academic positions. And because for them it's really important to see that you can really make a academic career. And talking to our PhDs, they said, nobody really has talked to me, would you like to follow a PhD track? And I think this is something where I would say make the women more visible that you have, bring them on conferences, create some dedicated things, team up with industry, because we have also role models that we can bring to the universities, and maybe that's a bit a wish to enhance. My experience is, as soon as we want to support the expert exchange, and this does not only cover the female expert exchange, it's getting complicated. And we have delivered lists with really experts from our side, female experts, and they wanted to also just don't have a full lectureship, because this is a lot of time, but just have an audience with female students to tell them to share their experience. And we haven't succeeded so far, and I'm not sure there was not the right owner at the university, there was no time to talk to Siemens about the list with the representatives or potential role models. So I think we have to, there are so many hurdles and there are other priorities. I think this is something where a network like, or an alliance like Enhance, with the different excellent technical universities could really make a difference a bit, because I think often a single university, they are completely busy with other topics. So this I would really wish to see more. And interestingly, and we talked in the coffee break, often I hear that the current studies, they are not really appealing for the girls or women. And as soon as you create some, let's say, study program, environmental engineering, you can really see that you get and you attract more female students. So it's a wording thing, but I think it's an important one, and it's also about content. And the more interdisciplinarity we get, I think the more women you get. And interestingly, and this is the bridge back to artificial intelligence, because within Siemens we do not only deal with programming techniques, AI programming techniques, we also have a huge, let's say, team dealing with trustworthy AI, with explainable AI, so really questioning the AI algorithm, the bias behind. This is driven mainly by non-computer scientists, so employees with a completely different background, cultural sciences, social sciences, philosophy, psychology, and driven by women. And I think, therefore, it's so important to really get more other disciplines, the ethical aspects in computer science and this thing. A long wish list.
Yeah, a long wish list, and yeah, we can hand over the wish list to Melik Özkadesh. Yeah, perfect. So and that would be my final question for you. The Enhance Alliance is in the process of applying for a new funding period. I mentioned it before. So you are really thinking hard. What are your targets you want to achieve as an alliance in the upcoming years? What do you take away from today's discussion so far?
Difficult question.
Yeah, and yeah, what are your ideas you are taking away from this event?
Yeah, in the beginning I said actually we have to map and explore possible joint activity fields and so on, and this is what has been happening already now today. I heard different examples. Actually, it's impossible to dive into all of them now. Potentially interesting ideas. If you ask me, for sure, interesting ideas for the new funding period for the upcoming years from the diversity perspective. Now, going a little bit away from artificial intelligence maybe, but for example, I heard about role models. I think this is something that we also know from studies, but also from practice experiences. We need these role models. And we do have these women, these people with migration background, with other backgrounds, intersectionality, and so on. So we should connect them more to our younger generations. We are discussing now about mentoring activities, for example. How can we match them peer-to-peer so that someone who made it already in artificial intelligence, a woman, very successful, showing her experiences to a younger generation. So why not? I think this is something that should work, that we believe in. And also about the concept of ambassadors. Again, coming from the same idea that peers are supporting other peers that need that support for what reason ever. So to take them, to include them in their development process, so that they don't become underrepresented later, so that we have to discuss about them, how to include them. And, but there are also lots of more ideas. I think very important is that we also create a structure, maybe even in the next funding, next project period, that we create and keep this structure, like Hannes Werner said, that we attract the discussion partners, that we keep them and promote them. I like it actually quite a lot. And this exchange of, this structure can help us to have this exchange. And that is inspiration. And my last point is, it was previous discussion. I just want to mention the Artemis program. As most everyone probably know, there is this rocket going on to moon now, right? It is already there. I was watching the press conference. I was personally interested in the whole happening, quite amazed. And I found out on the NASA website an interview about women at NASA. Very inspirational interview with lots of women. And also the launch director is a woman. It is unthinkable 60 years ago when the Apollo, the first moon mission, was there. And one of the journalists asked her, what do you think, what is the biggest difference compared to this Apollo years, 60s, 70s? One of her answers was diversity. It was one of her just natural answers. She's a woman, and also just, we don't know how many people with migration backgrounds from outside of America, from Europe probably, are working there, have made it possible that this Artemis launch was a success. And it is also the next generation program that will put people, a person with disability, a person of color to the moon. So this is already their purpose, already now. And I think this is a good example. And they say, and they also want to consider it as a person, not as a man or woman or any other characteristics. And just remembering the discussion about data, indicators, and so on. So these are just persons. I think this is also what we have to keep in the spirit of the next enhanced development, that we focus on everyone in the society and don't forget anyone.
Thank you very much, Melik, also for this this very interesting example you gave us. But I mentioned I find that your list of things you're taking away from this from today's discussions is pretty long. So it seems to be a fruitful discussion for you and from the perspective of the Enhanced Alliance. And I would like finally to answer the others on the panel. What do you think? Was it a fruitful discussion? What have you learned? Is there anything you knew you can take away from this evening here in Aachen? And I would like to start with
always with me.
Yeah, always with you, because you are yeah, how to say it gently? Yeah, you have so many experience, no. So much experience. Is it possible that you have learned something today?
No, I think what I have learned is AI is just one example of a challenge we are facing. Technical universities are facing. This is an input not only from this, but you have many more general challenges, sustainability and things like that. I think this is something which is more important than only treating AI. Do not overestimate the power of AI. I think an issue is really interdisciplinarity or transdisciplinarity, I would mention, because interdisciplinarity already means that you have a joint language, a common understanding, which we do not have. So technical universities, and this is a challenge, have to open for humanities, not only social science, but also humanities, like philosophy. And one thing which is also shown here is I think we are not only, how shall I phrase it? We should not only look at skills, we should look at critical thinking. Universities are a societal institution for critical thinking, for independent critical thinking. This is where new things evolve. It's not only efficiency and doing it, the things we know better, doing new things and critically reflect what we do and what others do. I think this is a very important, because this is also part of the scientific endeavor. This is how we work. We critically reflect what others do, what we do, and this is what we also have, universities should do as an institution and keep that. This is the power of university.
Thank you very much, Hannes Wertner. I would also like to answer Natascha Eckert. What have you learned? What are your takeaways? Of course, you have a very, very long wish list now, but are there any other takeaways and learnings from today's discussion for you?
First learning, it's always great to not only be invited to such a audience, such a plenary discussion, but also to say yes, I'll come in, because even being often the only representative from industry, and I'm happy that Gabriella, therefore we had the same table here, I think, just also spoke for industry. The dialogue is so important, because we have academia, we have industry, we are struggling with the same issues. We are the future employers for the graduates. So I think we should make much more usage of this interaction. And we have the Siemens Aachen conference in 2 weeks here, so I'll put it on the agenda, the topic, and I think, Geraldine, next week there's also a meeting between you and the Siemens research innovation ecosystem people, and I would also say let's take actions out of it, because this was, I think you introduced me like this, I want to take action. So I would really love not to leave tonight and then we will never hear from each other, but it's good to have the strategic university partners here in the room as well. And ETH Zurich is another one. I heard that they are already here today. Good.
Thank you very much. Yeah, the Technical University of Berlin, Geraldine Rauch, is the coordinating university in the Enhance Alliance. So, from my perspective, it is the right. You're the right person to have the last word of this conference, of this discussion here we had today. So, are there any learnings for you? What are you taking away from this event?
For me, one important thing is that we all have similar problems, like bringing up diversity from tools or things we do, and therefore I have a big wish. Or this is also something I learned, that we also had to put our focus to educate people and students to be more self-confident, to believe in themselves. Not everybody have to be equal. Diversity cannot be about making equal chances to everybody, but to accepting that people are different. And if you trust in yourself, then you can reach a lot. And therefore, I think this is also a big task where we really have to say on an individual level that just self-confidence is very important, and this is not a task you can just learn by studies and research.
Thank you very much, Geraldine Rauch, and thank you to all of you, all the experts we had on our two panels today, and this is your applause. So, and now, no doubt, yeah, you can take your seat again, but to be honest, this is the end of today's event. We are heading towards the end. I would like to thank all the experts on the panel again. Thank you for the staff, for the guys from the team of Enhance Alliance of RWTH Aachen University, for managing and organizing this inspiring day. And this is your applause. And also many thanks to the media team in the background. Thank you for all the participants here on site and all the people following us via live stream. I would like to invite you to join the next event of Enhance Conversations and the Enhance Alliances. Keep in touch and explore all the opportunities that Enhance Alliance offers you individually and on an university and a company level, and hope to see you next time. And I wish all of you a pleasant and a very, very merry pre-Christmas time. Thank you for your participation.